According to the general theory of relativity, and the people who wrote the Wikipedia article, and the one sentence of that Wikipedia article that I actually read, the lower the gravitational potential, the slower time passes. Gravity is an aspect of time. Time is divided into arbitrary intervals by people, such as rounds, and like the universe, stretches backwards from a point and forwards also. The sequence of events are therefore played like frames punctuated by the heartbeat of matter, and these frames branch off into what could happen and what does happen. There is no fate but what you make, which means that the frames are a myriad of possibility lying before you, and you choose what happens to you. But some frames are predestined, advised through prophecy and portent, and fighting against that so-called place for you is still fate. It is choice and consequence when you deviate, choosing frames that aren't what the perfect balance of harmony needed from you. But if you choose what the prime timeline wants from you, then you've achieved a greater harmony. And the boons or banes are more powerful because it's what you were supposed to do. And that is destiny. Destiny is, as the name suggests, the destination. Fate is how you get there, time is the progression, and gravity is the curvature of the prime material and time. Fate, time, gravity. Someone should make a school of magic around this. The crystal spheres of realm space are many and varied, and yet more exist in the uncharted void than that have yet to let their divine path be... Look, there are tons of worlds out there, but there's always room for more. And there's a certain online game that has gotten a bit popular today, with a detailed world and the lore to fill it. It's had a book released in collaboration with a third party, but finally it has been ushered into the official world list. And I really don't know why I'm trying to be coy, because everyone already knows what I'm talking about. The Explorer's Guide to the Current Critical Role Setting by Matthew Mercer of Questioning the Day of the Week fame, and the Wizards RPG team. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in the new book, but I want to hold off on that for now, until I've had the chance to look at the actual book. But today, I want to discuss the new expression of magic that puts the wild in wildemount, the convergence of the physical and metaphysical, of gravity, time, and potential. Dunamancy's possible powers can be seen in the existing spells we have, such as the interference of gravity through fly or levitate, or by the assessment of fate through foresight and augury. And the powerful spell Time Stop allows us to step into the space between heartbeats in order to add to the frame of the next moment. Dunamancy promises to be an exciting addition to any game, as the foundational blocks are already there, and the core spells of the game. But today I wanted to take a step back, literally back, because I had to wonder, have we done all this before? What we learn from an age of magic we tend to discard because the rules no longer make sense in the next age. Well, except for the general feel and theme, such as I expect most DMs have used time travel as a plot device, but how deep did we dive into the relativistic rabbit hole? In 1st edition D&D, and bear with me, because I don't know too much about this, we had the same spells as other editions but focused more on the rules of the game and less on the lore and philosophy of using such effects. We have the haste and slow, levitation, fly, and gesh. These were considered magical spells and divided into the schools such as alteration, but there was little in the way of social restrictions beyond what the rules said you could do with them. In AD&D time, manipulation was known as chronomancy, and consisted of spells that are still used today. These included haste, slow, foresight, and time stop. The use of such magic was dangerous, however, as the Second Age of Magic was less subtle and complex manipulation of a caster, and more the dumping of magical energy in an area or on people and hoping that the desired result manifested. As we know, magical energy can affect reality in permanent and supernatural ways, and chronomancy was no exception. For example, using the haste spell of AD&D made it so you could fit in more attacks per turn, allowed you to dodge better and doubled your movement speed. But it had the unfortunate side effect of also accelerating the physical frame of those under its effects, meaning that every time you got the effects of haste, you also aged a full year. Fortunately, the spell seemed to take care of the nutritional and energy requirements of such an alteration, but it could be a shock to find that you're a whole year closer to that time, when you inexplicably start counting your age in reverse. Or, as my friends would say, 35 plus tax. The consequence of the fire hose of spellcasting was that powerful effects were possible in the second age of magic, such as temporal stasis, which removed individuals completely from the flow of time. Time did not pass for them, meaning that if you were the target of the spell, then you'd blink and suddenly everyone you ever knew was dead. The culture had changed, and suddenly the goddess of magic goes by a completely different name. But it also meant that knowledge could survive a calamity, and the brain of someone who removed from the flow of causality, meaning that information purged from the minds of all individuals could still live on if this individual was ever found. The thing about the established worlds, especially the Forgotten Realms, is that the change of edition to edition is part of a living history, which means that if you play a 5th edition faerun adventure where the spell plague never happened, you're playing a homebrew campaign world. But in that world's history there was the temporal stasis spell, even if no such a spell exists now in the 5th age of magic, which means that it's a perfect plot device. If you need the players to learn a new school of magic that can trace its roots to a previous edition, you just have them discover the stasis form of an ancient sage. One dispel magic, and suddenly the secrets of previous classes are available to you. In 2nd edition, time magic was possible, but tightly controlled by Mystra, who saw the potential problem with going back and changing pre-established events. Indeed, it probably took the presence of mind that only a goddess in charge of the weave could manage. Taking back even one anachronistic item could have incredible effects on the world. For example, if you took back a scroll with a spell not yet in existence and immediately destroyed it once there, that knowledge doesn't go away. Indeed, it's now a secret of that time. We all know at least one god in charge of secrets. Secrets have a way of being discovered, and now there's a spell that others can know of, that could one day help provide escape from a predetermined death, or kill someone who will one day be important, or delay someone who could be at a certain place at a certain time. These may sound like nebulous consequences, but that's just because of my mortal limitations. Remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer killed a butterfly in prehistory and suddenly it was raining donuts in the present day? My, how we laughed. But in a world of magic, it could actually get that crazy. And so Mystra created and enforced the Time Conduit spell. At 9th level, it required the scales of 3 dragons, each of a different alignment, the dust of a dead time elemental, earth from the time in question you're travelling to, and extensive knowledge of that time and age. Creatures entering the Time Conduit spell were immediately stripped of all magical items and memorized spells, though spellbooks and scrolls remain. In addition, times that did not yet exist at that time were removed, such as full-plate armour, arquebuses, that's guns, and most gnomish inventions. Stripped items were stored in the conduit and were returned during the voyage home. Spells that did not exist in that current age appeared as blank pages in the spellcaster's spellbook. Scrolls that did not yet exist in the current time were likewise blank. Blank pages returned to normal when the time traveller returned to his own time or when the spell becomes available during his stay in the new time. There was never a way to determine the precise destination when using the Time Conduit spell. The only thing for certain was that the time travellers appeared somewhere in the lands that they sought. For example, travellers entering Netheril might appear in the southern city of Thiefsward, or they might appear as far north as Coldfoot. They might even appear on the high ice or somewhere deep in the eastern forest. Time travellers always arrived during the festivities celebrating the new year, and always returned to their own time during the final night of the year. These were the times when the mystical energies and the forces of time were most powerful on Toril. Nothing can prevent a time traveller from being drawn into the time conduit at the close of the year, even spells that negate magic or shield against its effects. Upon returning to their own time, creatures discover that 1 month would have passed since they left, though they still would have aged 1 full year. Also, time travellers cannot exist more than once in a particular time. Once a time traveller travels to a particular year, you can never go back. Thinking about it now, that would be the most perfect time to draw from the deck of many things, because even if your soul is imprisoned, you go back. As well as the Time Conduit spell, there was a more natural way to travel back through time. Much like there were portals that mimicked the teleport or plane shift spells, there was also the time gates on faerun, 3 of them, but their locations remain a mystery. Ancient texts of Mystryl's faith talk of the 3 gates that were created either through accident or great fortune. While the time gates don't require the material components, they otherwise work exactly like the time conduit spell, permitting time travel to any point in faerun's past. However, I have it on good authority, Ed Greenwood, who confirmed that as of 5th edition, these time portals no longer go back in time. Instead, they go to everywhere, rather than every when. Later on in 2nd edition, the magic of time was expanded in the book Chronomancer, which explained that chronomancy's power was derived from the flow of all creatures' lives through time. Time itself was visible only through the life stream, and then only through the dimension of time, temporal prime. Through the use of spells, chronomancers can navigate through time by slipping into temporal prime and following the correct life stream. Think of it as a family tree being a family staircase, and climbing up or down leads to forks, which eventually lead to other destinations. Chronomancers are determined more by their mentality and personality than the specific branch of magic they chose to study, but fall into a few categories nonetheless. Guides seek to alter the course of time, to guide it towards a certain point, which they usually see as the best interests of the world. Historians just want to experience firsthand the sights and sounds of history being made, and are preservationists. The seers look ahead to the future as fortune tellers and working in the art of prophecy. Travelers are the most adventurous of them all, and they just want to learn more. They're the most likely to out themselves as chronomancers, and a lot of other chronomancers hate them, as the disciple itself is out of necessity, a very shadowy, secrety group. Chronomancers could bypass the rules of Mystra because, as stipulated previously, the powers of Mystra were limited by Lord Ao to Toril, and even then to the material plane only. Yes, I know I just said Ao, and not Ao. Personal opinion. Just as 10th level spells were possible in, say, the Feywild, but disappeared in the material plane, so could chronomancers cheat by disappearing into the temporal prime and then popping back out again. Mystryl's rules were imposed upon the magic, not the presence of anachronisms themselves on Toril. And for the chronomancer, the magical act occurred on a realm where her laws had no effect. It was a cheat, sure, but one that Mystra couldn't debug, at least not at that stage. There were a lot of time spells, and I know of other YouTubers who have a much better style for listing all 35 unique spells in this Chronomancer book. I'll leave that to them, and let's instead look at a few key spells that could also work in 5th edition. Time Slip is a signature spell of the Chronomancer and explains their understanding that if all people are bound by time and fate, then spatial distance is merely a formality. Time Slip is a 2nd level spell that has a casting time of 3 rounds. It allows the Chronomancer to take themselves and their companions, plus 1 round of casting time per companion, into the temporal prime, and come back within 1d10 miles of a specific individual whose timeline the Chronomancer focused on while within the prime. Upgrading this to 5th level, this could be used as an ability within a certain range, or with heavy limitations. It's powerful as a teleport ability, unless the Chronomancer in 5th edition is limited by familiarity. If they can only choose 1 or 2 people that they know so well, they can always see the lifeline out of tens of millions, and that could balance it enough to the current age of magic. Minor Paradox is the boon of all hot-headed parties, as it allows you to redo 1 action within the previous 30 seconds. It's like the Omega 13 for D&D. At 3rd level, and while it doesn't allow you to change the flow of combat, if the Chronomancer decided to flirt with the mayor's wife and went badly for them, they can instead take that back and decide that they instead noted how nice the weather was. It didn't let the caster re-roll the same skill to try and get higher, only for a completely different action to be taken. Greater versions of the spell could make changes within hours, days, or even after years. Time Heal was a level 4 arcane answer to magical healing that at the time was only possible through clerical devotion. The target could be moved a number of minutes equal to their caster level to a time before the damage was done. This could also be used offensively against enemies that had used abilities to heal previously, though they could make a saving throw against it. Time heal only affected the materials, so it couldn't be used to restore a dead character to life, because at that point the body would be fine but the spirit had long since left. But as the level of damage was based on the time, it was possible to take someone from dying to fully healed. Bodies could be pushed back additional minutes past their caster level. Each additional minute had a cumulative 5% chance of causing the spell to fail. Moving on to 3rd edition, it seemed that only a few of the chronomancer's spells had survived. Considering the stories of comics, it's easy to assume that there was some big time calamity that occurred, or a paradox which rewrote the rules of time. Regardless, in 3rd edition the only source of time magic was from a mystical object known as the chronocorsa. The chronocorsa is a work surrounded by unstable temporal energies, constantly shifting forms through a variety of written mediums. Thus its appearance ranges from cuneiform clay tablets to ink on papyrus, from an elegantly bound spellbook to a sphere of unknown metal that projects three-dimensional illusory symbols. Chronomancers speculate that this arcane work is the result of one of the first time mage's mistakes. Perhaps this forgotten wizard travelled too far into the past and had his mortal essence shunted across every eon to follow. Or maybe he travelled too far into the future, becoming something else entirely. Or perhaps it is the final record of knowledge from all of the research done from chronomancers from 2nd edition. As much as the chronocorsa is a collection of spells, it's also a temporal anomaly, and it had the chance, 1% chance per day cumulative, that the compilation vanished back into the time stream, lost to an error until it reappeared again. It made it difficult, I think probably on purpose, for any wizard to become a fully fledged chronomancer. A couple of the spells that were available within the chronocorsa include Skillful Moment, allowed a bard to take 20 on their next skill check. Time Shield. Spells against you were consumed at double the normal rate on you and in an area around you. Aging Touch. Deal a point of strength, dexterity, and constitution damage as you age the target. When it came to time travel in 3rd edition, this is what the creators in a Dragon magazine had to say. Currently no spell, artifact, or creature in D&D can time travel over a span of years. Some creatures come close to actual time travel, like the faerun from the Epic Level Handbook, but even these high-level creatures are shackled by the laws of ages. If you wish to add time travel to your game, there are several ways it might be accomplished. Regarding magic, a spell allowing time travel should be nothing less than an epic level incantation or the purview of an item of artifact power. It might also function in a similar way to planar portals, merely being a gate to another age past the future and probably including the same perils of planar travel. Alternatively, time travel might be the purview of deities of travel and time, such as Lendor and Greyhawk, or Finder Withenspur or Jagal in the Forgotten Realms. Overall, the ability to travel through time should remain in the hands of the DM and be customized to suit the needs of the campaign. The only other instance of time manipulation in 3rd edition are the original spells that have survived, such as Haste, though that no longer aged you, and a spell that we haven't really looked at yet called Permanency. This was an amazing spell, because there were tons of spells that affected you that went away and you wished they'd stay. Who didn't want to always be able to detect magic, read every language, see invisible people, and have magic fingernails? The Permanency spell made certain spells that affected you, a creature, or the environment, get this, permanent. These were comprehend languages, dark vision, detect magic, protection from arrows, read magic, see invisibility, and tongues on yourself. It was for other people, enlarge, magic fang, and resistance. And a ton of area spells. Again, there are YouTubers better suited to that. Permanency in AD&D was classed as a chronomancy spell because it didn't make the spell last forever, it just never made it run out of time. Important distinction, I hope. The downside of permanency was that anti-magic or dispel magic didn't just suppress it, it caused that time to catch up and everything went away permanently. And considering that each use of permanency required actual experience points to disappear, that was a problem. I've seen archmages choose to stay out of the final boss fight, rather than step through an anti-magic zone. Parties have disbanded over a single errant dispel magic. It wasn't pretty. And as far as I could find, there's nothing in 4th edition. If I'm wrong, leave a comment below. I'm actually pointing as I'm saying that. leave a comment below telling me how wrong I am. And now we're up to 5th edition, and less than 2 months away from seeing how wildemount's dunamancy will bridge the gap between what's come before and what may come again. I mean, for you guys it's less than 2 months away. Me? Well, call me impatient, but I just had to see it for myself, and since I had the Chronomancy up here right next to me, as soon as I heard, let me tell you, it's an incredible book. There's some fan service, but there's a lot of great stuff in there. And to avoid a paradox, I can't really let on anything else until the book officially releases. So next time, we'll be discussing the history of a very powerful and important magical item, to be continued.